Hey, what's up, guys? It's Metal doing another How to Pug WoW M Plus commentary something or another video, and this is an 18 Spires of Ascension. I was gonna do a 19 Necrotic Wake for you guys, and then I played with a Treant, and I think his Treants made the mobs taunt immune to my Paladin's bubble taunt, and I bubble taunted, and everybody died, and I felt real bad. So I decided to look for a heal group. So anyway, I'm healing, and I've never played with any of these guys before. This is just a random one. So this pull, normally what happens is you pull all 6 of these guys, and then depending on the group, you either get that big fat dude on the stairs or do him with the next pack. It doesn't matter a whole lot either way. And you normally lust, but they do not lust here, even though it's Fort Week, and pretty sure that's just a mistake. So this takes a little bit longer to kill, and it's spicier than it should have been, and I have to, like, I also have to heal more rather than damage, because since we're not lusting, we're doing less damage. So it's kind of a rocky start. So when you're healing this, you always want to look out for who gets cursed here, or excuse me, magic debuffed here. That's burden of sin, burden of forgotten, burden of burdeny, burden of knowledge. There it is. That cast. So what the whole group needs to be aware of is that if there are 2 castigators, which there are, one here and one here. If there are 2 castigators, the healer can only cleanse once every 8 seconds. So like right now, you can see that I just cleansed. So that thing does a shit ton of damage on Fort and High Keys. So this is going to go off, and it goes on the Druid. And so now I've got to heal the ever-loving shit out of this Druid. And he needs to be using a personal or whatever. And then you can see my global just came up and I can cleanse him. So that's about as spicy as you want that to get. And that any more than that, and people can just straight up die. Or like, oh my god, if it's a Raging Week and they get a Burden of Sin cast off, it'll almost kill someone in one tick at the global. So yeah, you can usually let one go away and let the healer dispel it. And this is kind of odd. It put it on the tank. That almost never happens. So that really sucks because the tank gets super duper trucked there. But luckily I had my cleanse up, so I was able to cleanse it off of him. I could have probably blinded the one that was next to me, but I was kind of in Spiceville because I'm mostly just surprised that this fight is still going on. And I think a Rebellious Fist is about to go off. Woof. And I'm pretty stressed at this point. Yeah, that just sucks. So we did have a kick, I think, for that Rebellious Fist. Let's see. No, we did not. We actually didn't have it. And so that is a factor of, A, having triple ranged for interrupts, and one of the ranged being a Druid. So it's just, you just have less interrupts. And then B, us not doing enough damage because we did not use Bloodlust for this pull. And honestly, even though it might have been fine had we used Bloodlust, when I tank this, personally, that's why I never pull that fat dude with the first pull. I'd way rather do him with the next pull, just personally. So I could have done a better job there heal-wise, probably a smidge, but I don't know. There's a lot of fuckery going on, so it's kind of hard to be up to snuff. And frankly, I actually make a couple mistakes in this video. More mistakes than I think I normally make on average. There's one just now. Partially because it's a group comp that I'm, triple range, I'm not a fan of. And also partially because I'm just a little rusty for heals. I've been mostly tanking on the Demon Hunter and tanking on the Paladin. Even though I'm most experienced with heals in Shadowlands, I haven't healed in the last couple months nearly as much. I've been doing ults and tanking. So mistake number 1 that I just did, and this is like the problem with triple range comps. So these pluses on my UI that count down, that's my Beacon of Virtue, or Party Beacon, if you will. And what really sucks about triple range comps is that sometimes, if somebody's really far away, even though this is supposed to go on 4 people, it'll only go on that one person, because although the range that you can cast, like your heals and stuff, is like 40, the range of Party Beacon is only 30, and sometimes people are more than 30 yards away because they've got like a 40-yard cast range from each other. So that sucks, and you have to, that's like an extra layer of difficulty for the healer with Party Beacon. Definitely one of the biggest downsides to Party Beacon is playing like heavily range-heavy groups with people who aren't familiar with that. It's actually not a problem at all if you're in a coordinated group. You just tell your range to kind of be like somewhat near each other at all times, and then it won't be an issue. But for people who aren't aware of how that works, it is an extra layer that can make pugging more difficult in ranged heavy groups. I have to bubble there because I'm just getting chucked at by the castigator for reasons. Paladin also bubbled. The tank, rather, I should say. So it looks like we're going to have a recovery there. All things considered, not too bad. 2 deaths, but just a lot of wasted time because we did not Bloodlust on that. It would have saved a lot of time. Almost certainly both deaths if we had. And if you look at this pack's really easy. There's only one Castigator, a Vanguard, which does pretty much nothing, and then the Mender, who really just has like the one kick for the heal. Also because there's the Mender, you can purge him and get his weapon, which will help you kill the Fist guy quicker. I'm guessing since they have 2 mages, they were hoping one of them would like combust burst the big Fist guy, but it just didn't work out. So like I said, it's not my favorite way to do it. Most of this guy's pattern is pretty good though. The tank does probably about 90% of the same pull pattern that I do when I do this dungeon as tank, with a couple minor differences that are interesting. A little better, a little worse, depending on which thing we're talking about, which I'll go over those as we see them. These taxis are just the worst thing ever. I don't know why you can't just teleport or something.
You left me no choice but to oppose you. Forsworn.
That actually reminds me, the end of this, I think, is pretty funny. I've had some interesting Spires runs in general recently. I feel like it's one of the easier dungeons at a time if you do it right, but holy cow, I've had some goofy luck in here. So one thing I should be looking for here is a stun. Once all these interrupts are down, let's see if I do it. I don't. So I let Burden of Knowledge go off. I'm going to cleanse it. And I should have probably just stunned that way sooner than I did. Because I've got stun and I've got Blinding Light both. And those both would have been helpful. Ayaya, ayaya, screams the guy who runs at me. And we're going to do Pride now. And I think we're going to do it with the Mender, which I'm not a huge fan of. I would way rather do the Mender with the boss than with the Pride. So I really don't like this. I think the reason that we're doing it is because the mage just forgot to re-CC it, and he goes into combat since Sheep is an in-combat CC, not an out-of-combat CC. So it forces combat, but now we've got to deal with this dude doing all of his bullshit while we're fighting the Pride. Super annoying. So what you just saw a second ago, will rewind for those of you who aren't familiar with Party Beacon, but this is one of the reasons I love Party Beacon, even though everybody shits on it because they're dumb. So first of all, I'm doing the Holy Light precast G's, right? So I've got Holy Light, and when the Holy Light completes, I immediately hit Party Beacon, and it replicates the Holy Light out to everybody with the Party Beacon, even though it's like rewinding time. It makes no sense because this game's buggy, but it works. So that's like big initial burst, and then I'm probably going to target the tank, and then do Divine Toll, which is going to do Divine Toll and replicate each of the like 5 million Divine Tolls onto each of the beacons repeatedly. So it's like effectively, I don't even know how many Divine Tolls, like 10 million. Boom. So a lot of healing, a lot of burst healing there. My numbers are going to be scuffed because Spiteful sucks and keeps you in combat. So like I'm doing 5.5k HPS, but that's after like a really, really long fight that isn't technically part of the Pride fight because Spiteful keeps us in combat. I think we actually wipe here, and I think if memory serves, this is probably my fault. Yeah. So I still had a healing potion, and I got ticked. Did I get sniped there? I didn't see. I think I might have gotten sniped. That's on me, or do I just die to a tick? I do. So yeah, he's just been up so long. He's bursting for hella damage. So first thing, I had a health pot still, which I should have taken. I did use my carrying pot, but I didn't use my health pot. And the second thing, which I should have done, and it's just been a really long time since I healed a super high prideful, I should have done Aura Mastery here. I don't normally need Aura Mastery as much because we're just fighting a Pride by itself, and you know, usually it dies a little bit faster. But having the Mender as an extra just bit of damage on everybody, I think really made this worse because it took longer because people were on cooldowns, and we just had that extra bit of Mender damage. So I could have Aura Mastered sooner, and I could have used my health pot. Obviously, I also could have laid on hands on myself. So I think I was just kind of slow there, and that's unfortunate because that's going to waste a lot of time. A little bit their bad with pulling the Mender with it. Mostly my bad by not utilizing my stuff a little bit better there towards the end.
We are vastly outnumbered mortals. The Forsworn have
But no big deal. The Pride doesn't die, so he's just going to keep his health low, and we're going to run up and just finish him off real quick. I think the Mender did reset, though, which sucks, which is another reason I'd rather just do the Mender with the boss. Or no, maybe it did die. I can't tell. Did it die? No, it's over there. So yeah, I'd always rather do that Mender with the boss. Like, pretty much unless it's bolster week, I always want to do that dude with the boss and just keep him CC'd during Pride. Taxis are awful. Everyone knows this. The mage has to freaking ice block to avoid getting killed by the Pride. Like, stupid taxis. This would be a fine dungeon if not for these dumb taxis. So I think he does it with the boss now anyway, which is what we should have done to begin with. And now we have Lust, which he does use on the boss. And again, since it's Fort Week, I just disagree with this completely. I think it would be much better used on the first pack, personally. But that's alright. Not an awful decision by any means. So usually on this fight, I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can. Sadly, because of all the fuckery, I don't have wings up yet. Luckily, I get an awakening proc, so there's my wings activation from procs, and I can start chucking some hammers. And then in about 15 seconds, I'll have proper wings up as well. But it does kind of hurt your damage when you don't have wings at the start of pull, especially when you don't have wings during Bloodlust. So kind of sucks, but I'm getting some good awakening procs, so it's all good. But yeah, this fight, it's mostly just a lot of tank damage and a lot of fail damage. And really, even the tank damage is fail damage. Like, if the tank properly mitigates, you'll have to top them whenever they get chunked by the overhead slash. But if they mitigate that right, especially with, like, a solid self-heal tank, you'll notice I don't have to put really too much into them. I just try to make sure they're topped once they go down initially. And you can see those big dumps there that they take every now and then. That's probably him missing a mitigation there, would be my guess. You can see how little damage he was taking up to that point. So he probably ran out of mitigation or misaligned maybe his Shield of the Righteous. But overall, really easy to heal on that fight. And did a decent little chunk of damage for not being Venthyr and not completely focusing only on damage. So this guy does a pull that I like, where you put Bubble or Bop on yourself and the group stays back, and then you just aggro them while you have invincibility. That way they don't fucking global you out of stealth, which is the thing these mobs do. They're awful. First major difference in this pull pattern is this guy does not pull this Praetor, which I normally do. So that does a couple things that are interesting. It actually makes one of the Pride pulls a little better than in my pattern. And then it makes, in my opinion, what we have to do at the end a little bit worse. So it's got advantages and disadvantages. I can't really say 100% I'm for or against it. I'm just trying to do damage on this pull because even though these Stealth Claws do a lot of damage, a good tank is going to kite them, which this guy is. And I actually think Paladins are one of the better tanks versus bleed mobs because they've just got the big self-heal with Word of Glory, and then they can also take bleeds off of themselves with Bubble or Bop cancel. And then most Paladin tanks are Kyrian, and so then they'll have that additional ability as well. But yeah, with the mages and everything, that guy did a great job. He took like no damage from any of these and had no threat issues. So that was a really good job on the tank's part in terms of handling that. So they line of sight this pack. You'll see I'm standing in the corner here. That's normally where I do it and where I have people do it. They do it at the top of the stairs, which is kind of interesting. I suppose the mobs get there sooner, which is nice. But I feel like it's a little more awkward to fight them on the stairs, although that also does seem to prevent them from potentially having more directions to fly in. So this one I might steal. That might be a better line of sight position than the one I normally use. Hard to say, but I think maybe so. These mobs are super annoying. You just want to try and damage them as much as you can here as well. Like, there won't be much healing, and you'll save a lot of time. Unfortunately, that guy does jump out past the stairs, which always sucks, but it's all good. Ayaya, ayaya. Good old Spiteful. Okay, so we're going in, going to do the squad leader, and this is where, because he doesn't pull the Praetor, normally this pull's kind of a bitch for me with my pattern, because as soon as you kill the squad leader, the Prideful spawns. Luckily, it's just a champion and a skirmisher, and they're usually at like half by the time the Prideful spawns. Also, you haven't done anything particularly taxing in the last minute because you just fought those little javelin throwers. So usually people have cooldowns, but it's one of the least optimal parts of the pattern that I normally use. And so we will not get a Prideful here because this guy did not pull the Praetor. And I thought that was really interesting. And I do think, at least for this pull, that's certainly better. I don't know if the way it lines up later on is as good or not. I'll talk about that towards the end when it becomes more relevant. So yeah, I'm just dealing damage here, trying to kill a squad leader. Squad leaders, if you didn't know, make every nearby enemy take way less damage. They also sheep the skirmisher, which is kind of interesting because normally like CCing is pretty bad because you don't get cleave damage, but you get so little damage when the squad leader is still alive because of the damage reduction aura. Like you can see how little damage this champion's taking even though he's so weak. And these guys are so weak that once the champion's dead, you can just kill it, and that way it's not just chucking spears at you and making life harder. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I've never, I wouldn't say it's necessary to CC this mob. I've never done it, but I do normally have to heal way harder on this pull than I just did, and that was actually one of the things I really appreciated about this group's strats and things they did, even though there's some definite fuck-ups along the way. Most of them were me, but a couple other things I think their pattern is not great with. But overall, as a group, I think they did a really good job like making my life easier as a healer, which is generally not the case with most PUG groups. Most PUG groups do not make your life easier. They make everything harder, and it's awful. So aside from them being 3 ranged and using Party Beacon, there are a couple things like that I thought were pretty good. I'm going to do last second Party Beacon into Divine Toll. Very nice. I let that go a little too long. I should have done... so I usually try to wait as long as I can to get the Party Beacon into Divine Toll combo on Prides. Because the lower they are, like the more effective healing I'm doing, and then I can leverage those health pools being completely full at the very end to get a couple extra ticks, you know, before it dies, and then continue healing, obviously, with the remaining Party Beacon. But I waited a little too long there because, A, obviously the one mage almost died, and then B, we're ending the Pride at full health, which is convenient, but it means that I could have Divine Tolled sooner and been safer, I guess. And then we could have been at, like, you know, 75% or 50% health going into the next pull, and I could top us off. So I was a little late on that, and that's just rust. Like I said, I haven't healed too much recently. Pro tip for healers on this mob pack: do not cleanse the tank until it gets like a couple stacks of the debuff. Because if you cleanse on 1 stack and then the tank gets like 4, he's just going to have to eat them. And what really sucks here is that the druid rips aggro. And one of the Ether Divers puts the debuff on the druid. And this is not something that a non-tank should ever have. Now, I probably, and you can see here now the tank's got it too, I probably could have blown more shit here. Maybe I should have. But I decided to be like, sorry, Mr. Druid, and just cleanse the tank. Because the druid dying sucks, but I only have 1 cleanse, and those should have both been on the tank and gotten removed together, but because the druid ripped aggro, he had 1, and like I said, he's not a tank. So I probably should have lay on hands of the druid, in retrospect. But in the moment, I was just kind of like, fuck, what? Because that never happens, hardly. I've almost never seen that happen. So that was a pretty odd curveball that I was not a fan of. But, you know, it is what it is. And it's just the druid that we lost, so we'll be able to finish it up, no problem. But yeah, you just DPS players going too ham too early sometimes. Shadowlands.jpg. What more is there to say? So druid's going to run back, and looks like they're going into the next squad leader pack. I forget if they CC the skirmisher here, too. I imagine that they do. I definitely should have been getting my food buff during this time, like the mages are. I am a fool. Maybe they don't CC it. They just leave it out? Yeah, they do. So I decided to blow wings here and deal some damage again to the squad leader. It just really helps to have single target damage on these guys, so I just try and dump as much damage as I can into these squad leaders, while obviously still trying not to let anybody die, because the sooner the squad leader dies, the sooner the pack is donezo. And I think we do have a Kyrian in this group, so I think the tank is Kyrian, so I think he does the spears rather than me, which, you know, makes sense. Normally, if the tank is Kyrian, that's how you want to do him. Yeah, these skirmishers are so annoying, and I should absolutely have stunned this guy already to help mitigate its spear throw damage. I have not used my stun yet. I'm probably going to have to bubble. Yeah. So, had I stunned that skirmisher, I would not be as behind as I am right now. So I absolutely should have stunned that skirmisher. That's a fairly big misplay for me to not utilize that. Such rust. But, you know, we pull it out, and we're going to do the stupid stealth cat, bird, dog, bitey, clawy, bleedy guys. This is only pack of 3, though, no big deal, and this tank's been doing a really good job with them, so I don't think I was too worried about these. Some tanks you can go in and just get blown up. I've had that happen to me on my Paladin before, where you go in without a cooldown up or whatever, and they just global you from stealth. I honestly hate these mobs. They just feel really random. Like, sometimes you do it and it's like this and it's fine, and other times they just catch you at an odd time and you're just fucked. It's so awful. Ayaya, ayaya. Time to kill the ayayas before we can fly over. Because Spiteful is silly. And away we go.
For eons, we have been told to purify ourselves, to let go of our memories, our identities, our loved ones, all in the name of service.
This is going to be another Stealth Claw cat pack, and I think I might use, if memory serves, I think I might end up using my my belt here, the stupid Cataclysm engineering belt of off-tankedness. Yeah, and I just sacked the tank right away, so that's what this indicator is. But yeah, I just sack him right away, knowing these bleeds are going to be stupid. Unfortunately, I overlapped, though, and I did not look at my trees counter. And so that sack actually was pretty worthless. In theory, it was a good idea, but I did not check to see that he had trees active, and I should have looked at that, because having sack on him while trees is out basically means, he's not taking any damage anyway, so the sack didn't really do anything, and it would have been nice to have the sack, like, now, when the trees are no longer around. So that's, again, another problem with PUGs. You're just going to run into little issues like that where, you know, you're not in voice chat together, and even if you are, you're not as in tune with, you know, what everyone's doing if you've never played with a group before. Yeah, it'd be really great to have sack on the tank right now. He's not taking too much damage, though. He's doing a good job kiting. It's good because oh, no, he lines me here, which really sucks. And I think I probably almost panicked wings there, which I don't want to do, because I want wings for the next pulls to deal damage. And not just waste it at the end of this one. And I did not use my belt there. I thought at some point I needed to use Cardboard Assassin belt for this guy, but maybe not. I really hate Prideful on stairs. It makes it difficult sometimes to tell where the bolts are going to go. Perfect timing. So I think I thought I was out of the way there, but just because of the angles of the stairs, things kind of fly weirdly. But that's alright. We'll do the party beacon cheese and heal everybody. And I do pop wings and Divine Toll at the very end, though. Man, these level 18 Pridefuls not dying that quick are a motherfucker, I have to say. It would have been great to have this wings and that Divine Toll for damage. I'll have a little bit of the wings, at least. But, yeah, just so much damage from those Prides and hierarchies. I definitely had forgotten. I was definitely, like, shocked every time it happened. And I once again did not use Aura Mastery. So, definitely feeling the rust right now from myself. We get those guys killed pretty quick. No problem with the Pride buff. Going on to another squad leader pack. So I just used Blood Elf to purge the weapon. If you guys don't know what that looks like, it's this thing right here. It flew out of the champion. So whenever the champions and the menders get that buff over their head, you can purge them and their weapon goes on the floor and you can pick it up. And for the menders, one of them makes you deal more damage and one of them makes you deal more damage and heal everybody. So they both do similar things, but one is just like a better version of the other, if memory serves. But either way, if you just pick them up with any physical damage dealer, I'm pretty sure. I think hunters or any melee, it'll proc the effect. So I think I stunned the Inquisitor there. Yeah. So I had done it too early. I should have waited. I didn't see someone else that stunned them. But the Inquisitor is a good one because it does that internal strife, which is pretty nasty. And in a group that has this few melee, and by few I mean literally none other than the tank, for melee interrupts, it can get to be a problem. You can see when everybody's interrupts are on cooldown. Forsworn Doctrine is also pretty nasty, but I think Internal Strife is a little bit nastier. Yeah, go ahead and sack the tank there. And I do still have Blinding Light, but I have not used it yet. Nice knockback there from the Druid. And there's my blind. So pretty good job there coordinating, considering how few interrupts we have. And you can see this champion has that buff again, but no one's purging it. The mages could be, I think, spell sealing that. But they probably don't even care about it because it doesn't buff them in any way. But it's still good to purge because it prevents them from dealing more damage and healing everyone. And like I said, the tank can always pick it up. Much less if the healer's physical like I am. Melee, they can pick it up too. This is the beginning of a long line of things where I ask questions and no one responds to me. I guess it's not such a big deal. But it did peeve me a little bit. That he didn't just say, like, yee. I got the wings proc there from Awakening. He spears, but doesn't get them all. I don't know why he pulled it the way he did. It's kind of confusing. Well, the guy charges into the spear, though, so that's good. And I'm just using my wings proc and Divine Toll to try and deal some damage. And then I get caught by random hits, and the tank puts a sack on me. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Not really a lot of healing needed on this pull other than the tank for the most part. Which is why it's another pull that I just try to deal damage until the tank does this and almost dies. There it was. I just used Cardboard Assassin. So I knew there was one in here at some point where I used it. He got pretty low. I feel like we're very low on damage on this pull, and it's probably because of the way they weren't grouped up with the one mob being out for so long. So we probably would have gotten a lot more cleave, and this guy might be dead by now, since he would have been with the rest of the group. But he wasn't for, gosh, the first probably 15 seconds or so. Not a big deal, though. So now we're going to do Pride and go into the boss. And I'll tell you some nice Paladin cheese you can do on this boss as well. Let's see if I do any better on this Pride now that I've got a couple under my belt, because it's been a while since I healed one, much less on an 18. Oh yeah, the other thing I hate about ranged groups is, in addition to it messing with the party beacon, which you'll notice everyone is close enough that my party beacons are not having an issue, which is great, thank you. But it means I can't really ever do Light of Dawn, because the way ranged players just tend to naturally clump. Again, this is something that if they were in Discord or played with me, they would know I would bitch at them. I'd be like, guys, if you could just stand like kind of in a line together, that would really help my healing, because I could do more Light of Dawns. But because they're just like one guy here, one guy next to me, one guy over here, because they're all spread out, I can't hit everybody with Light of Dawn, which means that Light of Dawn will not do as much healing as it needs to do to be worth using. And so I use almost no Light of Dawn this entire dungeon, simply because of the group composition and the group positioning. So just be aware of that with your paladins. Help them by standing, you don't have to be on top of each other, but just be like kind of near your friends, if you can, on Pridefuls especially. So this is another boss where you're just going to do as much damage as you can, for sure. Not really a lot of big incoming damage other than the person who gets hit by Darkstride, and that's what I'm about to talk about. So Darkstride goes off, and he does it like every, or she does it like every 16 seconds or something like that. So you could bop the druid right now. And that would remove Darkstride entirely because it's a physical debuff and it's a physical damage over time. And that would be good because you wouldn't have to deal with it. And that certainly can be good. But what I like to do is I wait until Darkstride, the next one, until it comes up in under 8 seconds. Because the duration of Bop is 10 seconds. And that gives enough for, like, if the timers are slightly off. The duration of Bop is 10 seconds. And so Bop will clear the remaining 8 seconds. So you still clear half of the debuff off the person. And assuming you're in a group with only one ranged, it will guarantee to always pick the ranged over the melee. It will guaranteed invalidate the next Darkstride entirely. Since we have 3 range, it's kind of a gamble. I basically have a 1 in 3 chance, because Paladins are considered melee even if they're healers. I have a 1 in 3 chance of it invalidating the next Darkstride. So I'm going to bop him pretty soon. There it is, and I was a little late there. I think the next one's up in like 5 seconds. I probably could have done it a little sooner. And then he's going to Darkstride, and you'll see down on the target of target when it casts, it'll flash real quick to who it's going to, and that's how I look to know. So there it was. It flashed Mershini, or whatever this guy's name is. So that means it's on the mage now, and this Bop did not, cheese me out of the other one. But it's a really nice thing to do if you get it, especially in Tyrannical Week. It's so nice, and it's honestly one more reason that, I know it's not meta, but personally, my favorite comp is 2 melee, 1 ranged. I just always prefer that over heavy ranged comps because I don't know, I like the interrupts, I like the stuns, I like, as a Paladin healer, the positioning it offers. But obviously ranged are just better, so I understand. But personally, I like my melee heavy comps. Anyway, no big deal. The mage, I think, actually blocked it off anyway, so no problems. And we just deal some damage and kill. Gonna do a little jump trick. Hop on early. And so, pretty much thus far, other than the things I've mentioned, this has all been pretty similar to my pull pattern. And we're going to get to a point here at the end where it differs again because of some of the stuff that the tank has changed earlier from the pattern I normally use. And so one of them is that we skip all of these mobs on the stairs, including this guy right up at the front. Which, again, is another suboptimal part of my pattern. Like, you don't normally ever just want to fight one mob at a time in M+, if you can avoid it. It's just not as time efficient. So that's good. The reason I don't normally do that is because I don't trust people to be able to do the skip we're about to do. And it's honestly really easy, but you would not believe how many people do this. So all you have to do, you'll see these guys do it, is you walk up to this fiery brazier thing, and you just hold W and it'll automatically walk, or you can hold W and jump, which I do. But a lot of people walk around to here, and it doesn't look like much, but if you walk around the front, even if you hug it as tight as you can, it pulls that dude. And so I literally removed that from my pull pattern because I was tired of people failing that skip. And once he's dead, it's easy to tell everybody to just run over here, and they don't ever pull this dude. But it also happens to make the prides work better with the rest, and the percents work better with my pattern. But it is definitely suboptimal in terms of time a little bit. So what I thought was interesting is that we do skip, and so in my pattern, I would either, if I have a CC that's out of combat, so Sap or Mind Soothe or Imprison, I will CC this guy, and we'll, if we don't have invis pots, we can run around to the right and then end up by the boss, skipping all this in the middle. Or if we all have invis pots, we can literally just run straight through to the boss. These guys CC it, which, again, I can do, and do, depending on the group. But then they don't kill it. Or sorry, they don't skip it. They do kill it, which I thought was really weird. And then they also do something that I didn't know about, which is that somehow, and I'm going to watch how he does this, the tank pulls these two, but he doesn't get the fist guy, which I thought was really interesting. I did not know that was possible. I guess he just body pulls him. Yeah, he does. So he just body pulls him, and then that dude just fucks off, and he casts Rebellious Fist, but, like, we're not in combat with him, so I guess it doesn't do anything. Or maybe we line it? I don't know what's going on, frankly. I'm guessing we're not in combat with him. It doesn't look like we're in combat with him. Yeah, if we were, he'd come over. So that's interesting. But also, I think this is kind of a waste of time. So we kill them, and then, yeah, now we go and get him. So, yeah, I don't think we were in combat with him. But I just don't... I don't think this is really worth the time. Now, he saves some time by not doing 2 other mobs that I do, so... Maybe in the end it's a wash. And I think it's a really neat trick that you can body pull him like that. Like I said, I didn't know about it. But I just feel like fighting this Goliath... It just takes so damn long. And the fact that we don't fight it with the other 2 simultaneously is like, man. Like, look at how long this takes. Just so much time. This was the part where I was like, yeah, I like my pattern better. Like, I thought it was really interesting when he skipped the Praetor because of what it did to the Pride and the fact that fighting the Praetor is annoying. And then I was like, well, what's he going to do to make up for it? And the answer is this, and I'm not a huge fan. Now, I do something really stupid here, so I do a couple stupid things coming up, so get ready to laugh at my misfortune and stupidity. You can't invis when you have Grievous on you. Remember that, kids. Because if you do, the Grievous ticks and it knocks you out of invisible. So remember that, which I knew as soon as I did it. I was like, motherfuck. I just totally forgot. So here's the double stupid part. I didn't realize what they were doing here because I've always been too good to have fucked up the way I just did. So I thought I was supposed to run in and die. But it turns out if they pull these and I'm back here, I'm not in combat and I can just line of sight over here. And then I could have joined up with them after and they wouldn't have even needed to res me. But then when they pull, I get kind of confused, and I'm like, okay, sure, and I run in, and then because I run in, all the spears attack me, and I'm like, nah, I can make it without dying, and, you know, it's 18 fort. And they just fucked me up. So, yeah, I felt pretty dumb, but they B-res me, which wasn't really necessary, but, you know, fuck it. So, pretty big error there on my part, but the kind of error that actually does not waste very much time at all. So, mortifying in the sense of being stupid enough to have invis-potted before as the healer healing the Grievous off of myself. Mortifying. But not so bad that I feel awful for tanking the key. So, this is another interesting thing. So, 87.72 is actually the minimum percent you can be to go up. So, that's pretty efficient. My poll is 88.05 or something like that. So, it's got like 1 or 2 extra mobs in it. So, I thought it was really interesting that the percent was so much cleaner here, but I still kind of feel like even though the percent is less over percent, I still feel like it might not be as quick overall. I could be wrong. But he pulls the boss right away, and I have a little bit of a what the fuck moment because I'm so used to pulling the other spear guys from the other side. But he doesn't need to do that with the way his pattern is set up. And then I am just like a total dumbass here. And I move to where the tank is. This is the cardinal sin of this fight. So this guy ran by me, and I moved to get out of the way. And this is just me being really rusty and being used to being the tank and not immediately thinking I'm in front of the boss. Why would I be here? I bet you're wondering how I got here. And then he does a stomp, and I die. Oh, wait. No, I thought... Yeah, there it is. Wait, was that a stomp? Holy shit. I thought it was a stomp. I gotta rewind that. I was so far to the side. I was making fun of myself, but actually I'm livid. So wait, I did move. I moved to his side, but I guess the stomp... Okay, I'm actually really mad. You know what? I'm actually really, really mad about that. I shouldn't have been there. I should be back here, and I am stupid. But I feel like, looking back at this, I'm not as stupid as I thought, because I thought that that stomp was a frontal cone, but apparently it's like a frontal hemisphere or something. So I just type, fuck my life, Jesus, again. And luckily they get the B-res on me, and I go back to normal, and woof. Woof! Playing like a winner. Get out of the front of the boss, me. Yeah, that just happened. But this is, again, also one of those things where, like, when I do this group, when I do this boss, we don't ever, and when I've done it even with the other tanks in my main group, we don't ever put them there and then turn the other way. We always, like, go this way, and then that way, or vice versa. But he kind of does, like he's going this way, and then he turns around and goes this way. Which, again, is fine. There's nothing actually wrong with that. It's just, like, a familiarity issue. and it's interesting like how much that can fuck you up. I'm not as big of a fan of this. There is less movement, and so maybe they play with heavier... there's the dreaded one-person beacon. So I put the beacon on the tank, and everybody was more than 30 yards away from the tank because the tank was moving, and therefore the beacon does literally nothing, and I hate that so much. Give beacon a 40-yard range, IMO, please. But anyway, the way they clump these up, I think there's less movement, and that probably helps for ranged. Like, they can just turret. But it makes gathering the orbs more awkward, which I think you will see. I think I have to end up grabbing some of the orbs because the Paladin, tank, I think he can't get to all of them if memory serves. And that's because they're not in a straight line, and Paladins are really slow. So that's why I always just move back, and I tell everybody to put them all in one single spot on his butt, and that way the orbs come at me in a straight line, and it minimizes how much movement is required to eat them all. Yeah, and he's also so close. Like, look at this. I've got to run in. He misses a couple. Yeah, he misses like 3 or 4. So that kind of sucks. It's fine. Like, we handle it, but that's one of the things he does that I'm not as big of a fan of. I'm guessing it's because of the ranged. I'm guessing it's because the ranged want a turret and they don't want to move. Just one more reason I don't like playing with a lot of ranged. If you're a ranged player and you're watching this, I hate you. Unless you're a balanced druid or a fire mage, and then please join my groups always. I almost run through the blue like an idiot because I'm just so like fucking annoyed with myself right now. My brain is just mush. I think I typed like a sob story to them, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so bad." Yeah. Yeah, amazing how small differences in strat can make me play like an idiot or something like that. Yeah, I felt pretty bad after those 2 deaths. I was just like, fuck me. Those are like the 2 dumbest deaths I've had in a long time. Look how nice they are, though. They're so nice. They're so nice. So we're going to get on these mini-bosses now, and this is another variance in the way they do the strategy and another error on their end this time, not on mine. So most everybody starts the middle boss first now. It's the most irrelevant, so giving this power to the other 2 doesn't really matter. It's just this frontal smash. Really not a big deal. But this group goes to... they go to the left mob first, I believe, which I don't do. Yeah, they do. So here's the thought process on this, and here's why I don't like it, and also why I think some people do. So this mob, Astronos, it does like a spear throw on the ground, and the spear reverberates in like an X shape. And if that X shape hits you, it's like either a one-shot or a borderline one-shot. And as the key gets higher, it's guaranteed to be a one-shot. And it's not the most complicated thing in the world. There you can see it just comes out in like an X or a plus, right? They just come out and reverberate in lines. That's whatever. But the problem is the longer this mob is alive, the more of those spears they put down. And invariably, you end up getting multiple overlapping locations of spears that increase the likelihood that you're going to eat one because it becomes increasingly difficult to intuit or visually confirm where those spears are coming from. But that on its own is not that bad. The problem, in my opinion, when you do it this way, is that even though this guy isn't that bad while we're fighting him, getting this dude's spear thing with the other dude's ramping damage is awful. And I'd personally way rather deal with the other dude's ramping damage and just that's extra stress on the healer, which means the healer needs to be better, but it's less stress on the group and less movement, than do it this way. Because with this way, what happens now, and there's 2 mistakes here, I know we don't lust, and we should be lusting because it's fort week, and so we don't lust, and we're a little above timer, so that's part of it. I think they don't spear him either. Oh, no, they do. Okay, they do spear him. That's good. So we just don't lust. I think lust does come up, but they just don't use it. But, so I'm going to blow wings here and try and kill this chick. But what sucks about this one is that this one has a constant ramping damage over time effect. Okay? It just goes. And you'll see that even though this mob is stunned right now, we're still taking the debuffs. Okay? So we're at 3 stacks of, one is you take increased damage, and the other is like you take flat damage over time, and those both synergize and just make you take increasing flat damage over time, right? It's a dot and an increased damage debuff. That's what these two are. So this mob will still do that effect even when it's stunned, which means it ramps up and then starts throwing the charged spears, but we're already ramped up. Whereas conversely, with the other one, if you go fight it, it's not throwing spears right away, and you're just dealing with the ramp damage. So I don't know. It's not a huge deal either way, but I definitely prefer to have less spears. Like the other one, when we fight it, it's just throwing spears, and it's frustrating to have to deal with. Whereas like with this, if we fought this guy first, he wouldn't be throwing spears. He'd only be doing the damage ramp, and it would just be a matter of me just playing health bar ping pong, you know? So I don't know. They're both shitty, but I personally prefer the other way. And yeah, you can see how close, holy shit. Look how close that one was to hitting me. And I just said, oh, fuck you, and bubbled as quickly as I could. Like, fuck this shit. Everyone's low. So I still do have Divine Toll. I just used it. And this is about to get real spicy. I did use Aura Mastery already as well. So I did remember, which is good. But you can see how frustrating this is, having to dodge all this. And we did get lust up, I don't know, some amount of time ago and did not use it. That definitely sucks. This would be the kind of mob I would actually honestly advocate. Like, we end up being fine, but we have so much time, I would have advocated waiting for the Bloodlust timer to kill the last of these 3 mobs. That's how shitty these are on Fort. Like, look at how much shit is on the ground. Everyone's taking constant damage over time. Look at that. Oh my god, that almost one-shot me. Constant damage over time. Oh, did I get my defensive up in time, or was I late? Did I do the good defensive or the bad defensive? I did it good. I saw. That's the only reason I lived. The only reason I lived is that I put my defensive up. That's this blue line right here. So I saw that was going to hit me, and I needed to complete the cast, and I was like, ah, shit, I'm not going to get out of the way, and I put up my my defensive. I would have 100% died if it got me that low with my defensive up. But yeah, look at like just the Frogger Pac-Man Tetris game we're playing. It's awful. I could have lay on hands the tank. I didn't. You almost never want to lay on hands a Paladin tank. But when he's that low and he hasn't already lay on hands himself or already bubbled, it is the right call, and I should have made it. I should have lay on hands him. Alternatively, I could have also lay on hands the Druid earlier. I don't think I lay on hands a single time this dungeon. Weird. I'm normally pretty good about using that, but definitely fucked that up. But all good, we make it, and I think I say some like funny shit, like it's not even close. And then, invariably, now we have to deal with the Pride that spawns 20 minutes late because these mobs are buggy, and we're all just going to die and eat shit. Because we have plenty of time to kill the boss, so no big deal.
With your spear in hand, I will take control of the spires and forge new paragons to lead the Kyrian.
Yeah, I was definitely shitting my pants in real life during that. Really not a fan of fighting that mob last, but yeah, not having lust with the spear just made it so much worse. So much worse. Yeah.
As I peered into Uther's memories, what I saw shook me to the core.
So yeah, I'm like, we can do Lust Phase 2 on boss, though. Now, he said we didn't have Spear, but we did have Spear. Yeah, so that's why I thought they didn't Spear, because they said it, but looking back, he actually did Spear. It just didn't get combined with Lust, so it wasn't maximum effectiveness. Look at how fucking long these stupid taxis take. You know what really pisses me off is, if you have a Kyrian character, there's this little teleport platform in the Kyrian Covenant zone between the 2 areas at the top of the stairs where you touch it and it just flies you at 1,000,000 miles an hour across from one side to the other with wings. Every time I take that thing in the Covenant zone, I'm just like, why the fuck is that not what these taxis are? Why are these taxis not just like super fast automatic wing thing. They already have the technology. Why? Why is it these slow-ass angels carrying you around? It's awful. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is. So healing the pride there, no big deal. Everybody's doing fine, and now we can do the boss. And this is pretty much just going through the motions. I don't think there's any fuckery with this fight, but I've done a couple Spires recently that have all had fuckery, so maybe this is one that did have fuckery. I can't quite remember. But this is for sure a boss that you want to just deal damage again. Most of the bosses in this dungeon really are, like, they're not particularly heal-intensive bosses. Obviously, especially on Fort. I think Ventanax is fairly heal-intensive, but you're still better off dealing damage because Ventanax is like an unrecoverable ramp-up to where if you don't kill it fast enough, you can't heal through it no matter how fat your heals are. So you want to just deal as much damage as you can on this boss just to try and push it as fast as possible. And it's advantageous to use your cooldowns for that because you don't typically need your cooldowns during this phase. Just because if people do it right, there won't be much healing. If they fuck up and somebody does the spear wrong, then you'll wish you had the healing, but that shouldn't be what you plan for. And he did fuck up and miss the spear. Holy shit. Okay, never mind. I thought this one went smoothly. This is another dungeon run where everything goes awfully in Spires of Ascension. Why is this my life? Why is this my life? Okay, so good news, I do have Party Beacon into Divine Toll combo. Bad news, it missed one person, but you know, that's better than only hitting one. So I'll probably Divine Toll here in just a second. Boom. And that's going to top everyone, but you really can't survive too many of these. I'm trying to cleanse as I go, but there's so many debuffs. It really helps if you have mages that will ice block like this guy just did. This guy either doesn't have it or isn't doing it. I finally lay on hands? No, I bubble myself. Am I just never going to lay on hands this whole dungeon? There it is. Holy shit, I used to lay on hands. I got it on the druid. We'll see if I can cleanse him here. Oh my god. Cleanse, cleanse. Tank's going down. Everything's awful. Holy shit. So that's why, for those of you who don't know, you always wait for the boss to move before you throw the spear. Just no matter how long it seems like it's taking, it's always better to wait and see her move and then throw the spear than it is to try and hurry up and catch her before she moves. Because holy shit, if she moves when you throw it mid-flight and you miss, and you have to do that ball phase for 10 million goddamn years, it is the worst fucking shit of life. It's honestly shocking that we did not wipe and brick the key during that. Good job, me. So pretty much just finishing up here. As long as we don't fuck up this phase, this is free. If we do fuck up, the key is free dead because it takes, I don't even know, 20 minutes to fly up here on those goddamn angel backs. And then because this boss phases so many fucking times, it also takes forever. This is like one of the worst bosses in Shadowlands, in my opinion. Not like hard. It's not hard. It's just like dumb. Like the way it's designed is awful. It's not fun. It fucks you so hard if you fail because not only do you have to go through all these dead time phases, like right now where you just can't damage the boss, you're just wasting time not being able to damage. If you die, you have to waste even more time flying up the damn angel things. Awful boss. Hate this boss so fucking much. But not hard. Definitely easy. Just stupid. Anyway, that's going to do it for this key. We do end up timing it with about a minute and a half left. Definitely some mistakes there. Yeah, definitely some spice at the very end. And I'm definitely a little rusty in this video, but hopefully you saw some useful tips, and this is the first one of these I think I've really commentated through as heals, which like I said, I guess is my main in Shadowlands. So hope you enjoyed that. I will catch you guys next time. See ya.